Today, we're talking about ageism in the music business. Why does age seem to matter so much when it comes to the music business? We're going to talk about that today. Also, there's some changes with AI and copyright that I think people should really be aware of. And we want to talk about that also, how to move around AI generated music. So stay tuned. Arkatech Beatz. What's up, everybody? It's the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast. We are your hosts, platinum producers, Arkatech Beatz. I'm Juggernaut.
I am Mike Trauma D.
And together we make this super duper group, Arkatech Beatz. If it's your first time here, make sure that you're like, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. Make sure that you're hitting that notification bell and sharing with a friend if you like our content. Recently we saw some news about Method Man and Redman performing at the New York Hot 97's radio station Summer Jam. And, it was basically a lukewarm crowd, and Method Man tweeted out, or he didn't tweet out, but he used his social media saying that, it wasn't his crowd. And, it sparked a debate about ageism in the music business, and should there have been two different venues? Why are people putting this type of act with this type of venue? And we wanted to talk about the whole ageism and the music business. Like, why is it a thing, especially in the hip hop? Like, why is it the thing? Why isn't it that, old artists or legacy artists can't seem to be on the same card or venue as newer artists? And, why is there such a disconnect? So we want to kind of talk about that today. So what's your take on this, Mike? I have some clips from Jermaine Dupri that I also want to play later on, but just to kind of give us some additional context.
Yeah, I mean, how old is hip hop? 50?
Hip hop is 50, officially.
It's 50. So
51.
So this is, new grounds for hip hop as far as like rules and how to move. It's like we're all kind of learning on the fly. You know what I'm saying? And I think for the most part, for a very long time, we've been saying, "Oh, hip hop is a young person's thing. Hip hop is young. Hip hop is young. It's for young people only." And that always made me wonder. Then what happens to people who grew up listening to hip hop? What happens to them as you get older? And there's been kind of like a gray area. Nobody really knows. Like, what happens to if you're 40 plus, what happens to those artists, and what do we listen to, and there's been people saying, well, you could kind of bridge the gap and do records together, older and new can do records together and this, that, and the third, and, have performances together or share certain things together. And I don't know, Jug. I don't necessarily believe that, and, when Method Man goes and performs at Summer Jam, you got to think about his audience. Some of those kids weren't even born, so they wouldn't know his music per se. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't feel his music the same way we do. So should he have been on that stage? I think that there's enough space in hip hop where we can have more than one stage. I think there's enough fans that would support a Legends tour, a Legends show. You're seeing it now, Rock the Bell concerts and this, that, and the third. I think people who are 40 plus, would like to go out and support the music that they love, and don't have to be forced to go to concerts of kids. And I don't think a 40-year-old needs to be necessarily listening to Ice Fights per se. It's not your age. So
you say basically you shouldn't have been on the same venue as Sexy Red.
I don't think so. I don't think so. This is what you get. I understand where there's certain scenarios where a legacy artist kind of wants to show support for the younger artists, and may even want to, somewhat bridge the gap and maybe want to do a record, but it got to make sense. It got to make sense. It got to be an artist that it makes sense with both brands, and as a person who's been in the game for a while and, been a fan of hip hop, there's only certain type of music at the age that I am that I could tolerate, and I think a lot of people feel the same way.
And it's funny when you say that, because earlier, we were talking about this off camera. You were saying to the degree, like, it should be two concerts. It shouldn't be the same concert at all.
Yeah.
And to a degree, I agree with that. And I also feel like New York radio hasn't done a good job in really defining a New York sound. When we're talking about legendary artists from New York, Redman, Method Man, Wu-Tang, Nas, right? These are legendary artists their music should stay in rotation on New York radio regardless of anything. Like, at least their hits should be on rotation. And I don't think that we do a good enough job in doing that. And I think that's another reason why you see that disconnect in the crowd, is because we don't revere our legendary artists the way other regions do. If you're in the South, they're going to revere their legendary artists. If you're on the West Coast, the radio respects and reveres their legendary artists. And, their region is their region and their region is their sound. I think what happens here is that we don't have that anymore.
Right.
Where we're just kind of a mishmash of every region now.
Yeah.
And, our OGs should always have a home at a summer jam. At any given moment, there should always be a legendary icon that comes on the summer jam stage, and they should be respected just because of the simple fact of who they are in New York City. It should be a situation where you come to New York and you're going to say it's not your crowd. It's Method Man, for God's sake. And it's not like he's not, relevant as an artist, because he is on Power, right? So it's like he still has a relevancy factor, even though we're talking about the music may not be as new as it needs to be, but there's still a relevancy factor with him. So even based off of that alone, there should have been a better reception.
But then the relevancy these days is freaking subjective too, because what's relevant to us may not be relevant to the 23-year-old, and that whole crowd. If Summer Jam brought out Sugar Hill Gang, like, are we all supposed to be like, yeah, it's New York or this, that, and the third? It's people are going to be like, come on, are you serious? But and I'm saying this with all due respect. There is an age thing. And you gotta know your audience. I don't think it only matters the region. I think it also matters your target audience. If you have a show, that, okay, I'm going to be focusing on my music, or my crowd is either the 18-year-olds to the 25-year-olds. Yeah. And if I'm going to make sure that if I'm putting on the show, those are the artists that I'm going to make sure that are going to be present, because that's the demographic. Now, if you have an artist who caters to a 40, 50-year-old crowd, what do you expect is going to happen? Some mature consumers may respect it and maybe like, okay, I heard about him. He's the OG. Okay, cool. But you're not going to get the response, that you're looking for unless you have their direct audience there. So I'm not surprised about the whole Method Man not being happy about, the target audience. I think it's almost like a rude awakening, and it's kind of a shock, because this is new. This is all new. Your hip hop is like we said, 50 years old. So now we got to figure out, well, what do we do with these legacy artists? And I think that's the conversation. I think we need to know, what do we do? Are they supposed to have their own venues, their own lineups, and the people who want that music has the space to support it? When I go to a function, I want to go to a function where everyone who's in the function can appreciate the music the same way that I do. When I turn to my left and my right, I want to see 30 plus 40-year-old like, I remember this. You remember this? I remember this. This was the joint. You don't want to necessarily see a 16-year-old or 18-year-old next to you standing there. They're not going to appreciate it. And you know, you as a person who wants to come to enjoy music, that may throw you off too. You may not enjoy it, so you got a bunch of 18-year-olds not rocking out. No, that's not what I paid to come in here for. I came to come in here to come in here with like-minded people, an audience that believes and enjoys the music like I do, and that's the experience I pay for when I go into these venues.
I hear you. I do. I just in a certain sense, I just feel like we're not doing a good enough job in letting, you know, the other generation, you know, hear the good music or hear the music that really change our lives, or really let them hear the music and the artists that are really the backbone of this.
They don't care. I don't think they care.
Listen, they don't care because they don't care because we don't prioritize it. And what we've done is we've created a culture where we throw the artists that are not quote unquote popping to the wayside. Like, that's something that we've created. And now we look at it and we say, oh, they don't care about it. It's because we haven't created that infrastructure. Because I can tell you this, if you know, if A Tribe Called Quest comes on, Can I Kick It? My kids know that song. Why? It's because it's inserted in this movie, or it's inserted in the Ninja Turtles, or it's inserted into the Tom and Jerry movie. If we don't insert it into what it needs to be inserted into, the kids ain't gonna know those songs. Kids ain't gonna know it. Like, that's the problem. It's like we've taken our own, we cannibalize our own legacy artists. We've taken them, we've thrown them to the wayside. Like, that's part of the issue.
But culture, period. I think all culture, like society does that, I should say. Society does that. When something is old, they throw it away. Like, that has always been the thing. Your parents get old, they want to throw you in a nursing home. When your car is old and 40, 50 years old, oh, it's no good, but it's still running. When you got something in the house that's been around for a long time and it's old, you want to get the new one. You know, I think this culture, the society, and I keep saying culture, I mean society. Society has a way of everything got to be new and fresh. New and fresh. Your iPhone gets swapped out every year for the most part. You know,
gets swapped out, but y'all don't change shit. See, if y'all was a Samsung, y'all change shit. They don't change anything, and they just got y'all tricked into believing that it's the new shit.
But that's my point. Like, as far as society has conditioned us to always throw out things, even if it has a little mileage on it, and not really respecting that, no, this stuff still has worth, still has value. So I bring that back to our musicians and our artists and our producers and our entertainers. Like, just because they are older does not mean that they don't have any value. And I think that we need to rally together and figure out, well, how do we continue to showcase these entertainers and show that they still got it? And at the same time, you know, as fans, we have some place to go and see and experience these entertainers. I don't want to be forced to have to listen to, if I want to listen to hip hop, I should not have to say, okay, I got to go back and play an old record from 1992 to enjoy music. That ain't fair. Like I should be able to listen to something current now that is knocking and is still aimed for my audience. I shouldn't have to say, okay, if I want to listen to hip hop at my age, the only thing that's new and current and that's popping is a Nice Spice or a Sexy Red or anybody in that. That's not my age bracket.
Not your sound. It's not your music. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's part of what we've created. We've created this situation where the legacy artists are not being embraced to create new music. Right? We've made it unprofitable for them to do so. But I don't even think that's the case anymore. I think the truth of the matter is that we see that there is an absolute lane for all of it, through the shows, through the merch, we see people winning Grammys, so you don't have to, that whole age thing to me is like that barrier is being destroyed. What these artists have to start doing is they have to start searching for the producers, because the producers are now out there, and you guys need to start making the music with the producers that can create the sound that will basically resonate with your niche and your target audience. And that's the reality of the situation. Does it need to cost $10 million? No, it can't cost that anymore. You know what I'm saying? It can't cost what it used to cost. It can't do that. You can't record it at that type of, on those type of dimes anymore. But you guys should still have music out. And that's the reality of the situation. You guys should be putting music out because we're here to consume it. And we can take that new music and put it in with the old music, and we can kind of be able to rock and roll with that. And I think a lot of that is really where the problem is. But at the same time, there's a clip out here of Jermaine Dupri talking about, like, the average age of the employees at Hot 97, and that, it's really their fault for dropping the ball, for trying to put these two, for putting these artists on the same venue. And I agree with him to a degree, because he was saying, listen, I'm Jermaine Dupri, and in my heyday, I couldn't have come to a Summer Jam if you had a venue that had Wu-Tang, Nas, and Mobb Deep. I don't fit in this venue. And I was going to have to go to a hostile crowd by trying to fit me in a venue that I didn't fit in.
But is that, he didn't fit because he was from the South? Is that what he meant?
He was just basically saying that the sounds don't match. You know what I'm saying? So to a degree, I understand where he was coming from. It's like whoever was deciding to put together this venue, you kind of wanted to put together artists that had similar sounds to kind of make sure that one thing can kind of flow into the next thing, and you're not ostracizing the group or the people that came to see whoever. Because if you came to see a Sexy Red, you wouldn't have minded come and see, somebody else that may have been in the same vein. But if you see somebody that's, outside of this and haven't had a record out in the last decade, it's like, it's going to create a little bit of a situation like, why are we watching this? And I think it's not necessarily so. In when he said that, it wasn't an ageism thing. It was just, these two musics don't fit, for this venue. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't fit. And I think somebody should have did a better job of finding the music that was going to fit, or the artists that fit together for the venue.
But it's knowing your audience.
That too. But back to that too, but at the same time, but we make it seem like it's just the age gap. And I don't know if it's just the age gap, because would Nas have suffered the same type of energy response?
But Nas is maybe it's hard to say, because Nas has been consistent in putting out music that's playing on the radio right now. So they know who he is, and that's a very good question. What if it was a Nas instead of Method Man or Redman, would the response be the same? Or would you have people more like, okay, I know who he is. This is dope. I heard this on the radio.
And then when you think about Redman and Method Man, like, these two guys are probably one of the more entertaining of hip hop performers.
Right.
Because and I know, if you have a Wu-Tang show and those guys aren't involved in it, there's a certain type of energy in the Wu-Tang show that if you don't got Method Man there, you're missing out on a treat. Because there's clearly a difference of when he's performing with them and when he's not. Yep. So again, it's not that they added somebody who can't perform. This guy can perform. Him and Red, these guys tear down stages in terms of their performance levels. So I just find that it's just, to your point again, like, you have a generation that doesn't care, but we've cultivated that.
If Red and Meth had some current music on the radio right now, do you think it would matter? And this is similar to the Nas question. Would it like?
I think it would have fared. I think it would have fared better, but at the same time, again, we don't do enough to keep. We don't do enough to keep the great music in rotation. I think that if I'm going to a concert, I think you and I made this joke earlier. If we go to the concert and Melly Mel comes out, right? Mm-hmm. We may say, "Oh man, we don't. That's not really our era, right?" Because Melly Mel is maybe a generation before us,
right?
But if he comes out and he does the classic, The Message, we'd have been okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the prominent song that we remember, that we know, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Now, if it's an extended set, you know what I'm saying? We might have a little bit of a problem,
But I do think that our generation respects our OGs a little bit more than this generation respects OGs.
I agree with that.
So and at the same time, our generation is closer to the beginning of hip hop. So everything was kind of like really new, really fresh. Yeah. A lot of curiosity. How did this thing start? Where's this hip hop thing going? But I think also now that it's been 50 years, you have people who kind of, I think hip hop has been abused. People over the years, some people got into this game, not for hip hop, not for the hip hop culture, not to push it forward, but just to get a bag. It's been like the hustle. So when you got a lot of these individuals running around in the game, that further hurts things. They don't have no knowledge of hip hop, where it came from, any of it, and they just in it for a quick lick, something to do, because it gave a lot of opportunities to people from the streets. It gave a lot of opportunity for people to get a job and work, and it supplied so many things for so many different people. So a lot of people used it as a quick lick, and unfortunately, I think that's also where we've lost as well. Such a low barrier to get in. So when they get in, they just do whatever they want. And kind of stray away from the essence of hip hop, whether it's being an MC and saying something, or rapping and staying on beat, or things like some of those key elements, I
think we were also talking about the whole ageism thing in the music business, as a part of a predatory system. And we talked about that, saying, earlier off camera, we were talking about like we've always tried to gravitate toward a younger artist, but we were also saying that part of that may be because they're easier to exploit. And, what's your take on that in terms of, younger people being easier to exploit? And that's part of the reason why the industry kind of leans toward a younger artist versus an older artist.
Yeah, I remember us, having a meeting at a major record label and some artists. And one of the key questions that always kept popping up was, okay, how old is this person? How old is that person? And it really lets me know that the record labels are also focused on, their age and what kind of deal can be done, because these record labels for the most part are like predatory deals, where they can take advantage of a young person that does not know the business, who may not have as much responsibilities as an older artist or older person. So they could take advantage also and say, okay, we're going to give you this amount of money. You don't know the business. We're going to sign you for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And, we're going to just, do whatever it is we need to do to get what we want. And, if it was an older artist, there'd be more, like, you're not going to do to me like you do to just any kid. The older artists are a little bit more mature. They're more tending to, let me read this contract, let me grab this attorney. And some of them, even at their age, may have families and other responsibilities outside the music business that they have to consider, and may not always be willing to do every single thing the label wants them to do, and again, like you said before, older artists may not want to, may be stuck in their ways of doing things too.
Yeah.
So when a label says, hey, we think you need to do this, older artists may be like, nah, I don't think so.
And that tends to be the issue.
I'm a grown-ass man, dog.
Right.
I ain't doing that. I got my own kids. I ain't doing that. So, like, I get it to an extent, and I think also, not to record labels also feel that younger artists are more in tune with not just the culture, but when the culture is changing and what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So if they could grab that up early, they can have a longer shelf life, and record labels will have a longer time to make a profit, to catch a wave, to catch the next thing, to catch the next whatever it is, trend, But it's discouraging though. It's discouraging because at the same time, you can lose out on some dope talent that is a little older, 30 years old, and labels are saying, yeah, that's too old.
Yo, that's the real. But but it goes back to, like you said, like just not being able to be flexible, kind of stuck in your ways, not being open to feedback. And that all comes with age. And even if, and to me, that's not necessarily not even the music business as a whole. I think that's just corporate, period. Like they always want to gravitate toward the younger person coming in, because, in some cases we want the people with the experience, but what comes with experience a lot of times when you're dealing with corporate folks is that these people come in they're rigid. They're not flexible to new ideas, new ways of doing things, and a lot of times when you come into a new system, we want you to do it our way. We don't want you to do it the way that you were doing it. We hired you for your knowledge of it, but we're not necessarily hiring you because we want the process from where you used to do it. We want you to do it on our process, and a lot of older people are not really used to that. They tend to fight the system because they're like, well, why are you doing it this way? Because at my old place, we did it this way.
Right.
And we don't want to deal with that. So I think that's also another reason why you see a lot of labels to say, hey, we don't want to deal with older artists because you guys are too fixated in trying to do it a certain way. Maybe you might have had a record deal before that fell through. Now you're getting a secondary chance because typically that's where the older artists come in. Like that, they may have been signed to a production deal or something that like they have some sort of real life experience with it, which helped their music. But it also helps them to be more business savvy. And I think a lot of times people don't really want to deal with all of that comes with it.
That's funny because you would think that maybe they want somebody with just a little bit experience, like they know what to do or how to fall in line versus a fresh new artist who's getting into trouble, can't be in the studio on time, and getting into trouble on the streets, can't catch their flight, So it's like, that's a headache. So you'd figure that, okay, this artist, he's not going to give me no trouble. He's been signed before. He already know, what to do as far as how to carry himself, this, that, and the third. So, it's a funny thing, just when you think, the record label wants one thing, and it turn around and wants the other thing.
This episode of the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast is brought to you by our own ebooks, the Songwriter's Guide to Song Registration, the Musician's Guide to Music Copyrights, the Musician's Guide to Music Publishing, and the Ultimate Guide to Forming Your Own Music LLC. All of these books are really essential for artists, producers, musicians to really learn how to navigate the music industry and how to really make a living off of your art. So just make sure you go pick those up. Those are available at arkatechbeatz.com. We're going to put a link in the description, and thank you guys for supporting.
And it's funny because in a business sense, you would want somebody that's a little bit more stable, right?
Right.
In a normal business scenario.
Right.
In this scenario, it seems like they like the chaos. I guess the chaos creates
chaos sells.
better music. I don't know.
The chaos sells. The chaos is good promotion. And at the end of the day, they'll have a life insurance policy on the artist anyway.
Yeah, that's the terrible part of it, that they're almost betting that you're going to go out here and get yourself killed.
And crash out. So
it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like a bet. Like we have what they call it in the stock. We put some options on you, some put options on you that you're going to go out here and crash out. Like, you know what I mean?
It's funny. I saw these interviews. So it's a pretty decent old interview with Charlemagne and Leon Cohen. And, the question was about signing artists who have maybe a drug problem and this, that, and the third. And,
I remember that.
And after you get through all the fluff, the man says, hey, the record company we got to eat. We got to eat.
Look, got to eat too. He really didn't give a shit. And I think a lot of people, listen, that went over a lot of people's heads. A lot of people didn't really realize that at that moment, you were really looking at the devil in his face, because motherfucker was telling you that he didn't give a shit about you personally. And it's not personal, it's just business.
It's just business.
My kids got to eat too. I think he had said that on top of that too. Like, my kids got to eat too.
You got to eat too. This is business. It got and it was
it was real cold blooded.
So these record labels, for the most part, don't care about your personal well being, man. It's just they're predatory lending at best.
Yeah.
They get what they come in, they get what they want, and they'll spit you out. And if you're educated, if you know the business, if you know how to move, how to conduct yourself, be careful. You know what I'm saying? They don't really care for that, because they know they're gonna have issues with you. They know that you're not gonna fall for the okie doke. So you just gotta be mindful when you're signing these contracts and getting involved with labels, and especially being a young artist, because that's what they're aiming at. They're betting that you're not gonna know what to do. You're excited, you got an opportunity, they're gonna dangle a few shiny things in front of you, say a couple of big numbers, and here you go. So I guess that's what they want, and as we're talking about age in the music business, I think, like we said earlier, our OGs got to do a better job in not just communicating with young generation, but also giving them this space to create, the space to do them. And we got to make sure that we recognize our OGs and continue to give our OGs a space for them to continue to do their thing as well.
I agree with that. And the other thing that I was going to say is, like, we look at a station like Hot 97.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's the brass, we're talking about a brass that's all 50 or better. It's too old. It's too old. Like, everybody should not be at this age bracket, in this space for this long.
It looks fake. It looks fake. You're not gonna tell me that these 50-plus-year-olds is loving these 18-year-old music.
They can't.
That they get excited about it, go on the radio. You're not gonna tell me that. I think they're just doing the job. That's it. They're just doing the job.
And that's part of my problem with it too. You know what I mean? And you and I have been saying this for a long time. And it's not that I want to see people put out of a job. We're in the same age bracket. We're not saying that. But at the same time, it's like, where is the cultivation of the newer generation? There is supposed to be bringing in a new guard. We're supposed to be mentoring a new guard. What's happening is, because we're not doing that, that's why the younger generation is like, fuck y'all, man.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't help us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, y'all can't relate to us. They didn't.
Yeah, like, we figured it out on our own, so we don't really give a fuck of what you think.
Yeah,
you let us figure it out on our own, when we went through that as our generation, where we had to figure it out on our own. So we turned around and just said, okay, well, let y'all figure it out on your own, and now we mad that they don't respect us. Like, you never gave them, you never helped. Like, you know what I'm saying? So how can you expect this artist to give a shit about y'all when y'all never really helped them at all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't get no game. Y'all didn't come, you know? And that's why when I see all the beef with Drake and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, you don't never see an artist like this help so many artists, because we watch so many of our favorite artists not help other artists at all. No, you know, you can't come on tour with us. You can't get a feature. You can't get a tweet. You can't get nothing from any of these guys. You know what I'm saying? So when I see somebody that's trying to help a whole bunch of people, and people may say, well, you know, he's a colonizer. He's trying to do this too. And like, you know, but it's like, I'm still looking at the situation. Like, what, if you really pay attention over the last 20 years, how many artists really help other artists? Not many.
Not many.
You know what I'm saying? Not many.
Not many. Not many. I mean, off the top of my head, I could only think of like Thug and Gucci.
You feel me?
You know
what I'm saying? And if you're talking about New York-based artists, because we the worst culprits, we wasn't helping a lot of people.
The South is the only ones that have been only, you know, between Thug and Gucci and Wayne. I mean, you know, that's the only, as far as New York, I can't really listen.
And if you want to go deeper, like, how many New York legendary OGs put on New York artists? Because most don't do that. Most will say, you know, if you're in New York or if you're from Brooklyn, you're gonna put on cats from Philly. You feel what I'm saying? So like that's how it was going for a long time. It wasn't going where New York guys was putting on New York guys. If he was a 50 Cent or Fat Joe.
Fat Joe, yeah. Fat Joe and the Pun, and
yeah.
You know.
If you wasn't 50 Cent or Fat Joe, you wasn't doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they wasn't doing it. Like, let's be honest. These guys was not doing it. These guys were not putting on the best talent from New York. They was putting on their people. They wasn't putting on the best talent from New York City. They wasn't looking for it. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the whole situation with the ageism. And this is part of the situation where now nobody wants to, like, the young folk is like, yo, man, fuck y'all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all ain't help. You know, and I look at that station like Hot 97. It's like, how can you guys have remained relevant this long without bringing in a new guard? Like, you guys are still got the same DJs. You guys still got the same people. The same.
And the people that they're putting on is related to them in form or fashion. You know,
you see it, the nepotism.
Yeah, they're related, or they're doing management, or they're involved in those artists. It's like, it ain't a fair shake at all, man. You know?
I mean, I don't expect it to be fair per se. I just wanted to be more balanced in terms of, you know, where's Flex, you know, 25-year-old protege? Where is that?
Right.
Where is it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know it may not be his responsibility, but we would like to see that. You know, because at least what you have is you have somebody who has, who's been exposed to the old way and then also the new way. You know what I'm saying? So this is how the gap gets bridged versus, hey, we're going to do this. We just doing what we're doing at our age. We don't fuck with that old music. Like, we're not going to fuck with it because nobody helped us to really understand how dope it was. You know? And it's the same way, like, if you got a protege or you got a younger person, they can really introduce you to how dope some new shit is. Because there's a lot of dope new shit that we're not paying attention to either. Right. And I mean, and I noticed that, and I'm just like, are you guys actively looking for dope new music? Because you guys are not looking for that shit. You know, like, it's like y'all guys are just, you know, running with the algorithm. Like, the algorithm controls everything. You know, this person is hot. This person is hot. Like, you know, and the shit ain't even real. And you know that, and I know that. You know that there's somebody down there pressing that proverbial button, heating this person up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so we're not going to need any of them because, you know, when AI, you know, AI is getting involved, it's really seemed to be taking over a lot of things, you know, and we spoke about this so many times, from AI going in there, and, you know, even people on regular 9-to-5 jobs need to be careful, you know, because AI can actually remove your job. It can actually take your job if you're not careful. You know, we're starting to see that on a few levels. You know, robotics, technology as it advances, you know, your job is removed. What's going to happen when this AI is, you know, is able to really program itself to rap? You know, and
It's already here, man. Like,
you know, production right now. You know, there's so much AI generated production right now. It's starting to get out of hand if it's not already.
Look, to me, it's already here. The reality of the situation is that it's here already. It's just what I noticed, what the industry is doing, and what nobody really wants to talk about is that the AI industry is trying to slow it down so it doesn't put everybody out of work.
Fit.
The technology already exists, right? So the replacement technology is already here, right? But what they're doing is they're slowing it down to get to the public so that, you know, the government or whatever can figure out, the private sector can figure out how do we implement all of this without displacing all of these jobs.
Yeah.
How do we get this without ruining the world economy and putting everybody basically on a government assistance? You know what I'm saying? Because that's really what's next for people that people don't really realize it is that you're going to be in a situation where this takes over everything, takes over your job. Because if you have it, if you really use it, and if you use it like how we use it, you would already know that it's like having 10 virtual assistants. You can go from idea to execution in light speed.
Yeah.
We're talking about the things that would have taken you months to create. Illustrations, artwork, drafts, proofreading. All of that is done in a matter of moments. Like, so you're removing so many different parts of it. And then if you're talking about the new AI now that OpenAI has, which is absolutely conversational.
Yo, that's crazy.
Right? This is the conversational type shit that it got going on now. There's no need for customer service reps anymore. There's no need for that anymore. It'll find the information on the fly. Right? If you work for an organization that records all of your telephone calls, say, for example, you have all of your telephone calls are recorded or transcribed. Once we feed that into the system, the AI knows how to handle each scenario for each type of call because the transcripts are there.
Right.
So if it comes across this type of problem again, or the keywords come up, it'll just go, the language model knows how to find it, what to find, and what to spit back to you.
I mean, if you have a Siri or an Alexa, I mean, that is the entry. It's already there. It's
already there. So you see it. So, you know, I've been looking at some of these copyright situations, and they're saying that there are some complicated situations with dealing with AI and some copyright situations, because they're saying basically you won't be able to copyright it if it doesn't have a lot of human input, right? So you know, for people who are using AI in their music, we would tell you to use AI sparingly. And at the same time, if you're going to use AI in your music, you have to make sure that you are adding on to it significantly to make sure that it turns into some sort of a new work. The best way that we can probably explain it is kind of like how you would do with a sample, right? You would sample somebody's music, but what you would want to do is you would want to add your own instrumentation. You would want to add your, you know, change the tempo, change the pitch.
Chop it up, maybe add that stack layer, rearrange.
So you make it into something that's new.
Oh,
and not something that you're playing, not something that you're going to say is all AI generated. And I think in that fashion, you'll be able to, you know, at that point, be able to add enough elements to it to copyright it, because it's still a gray area as to how much you need to add to it before it becomes that.
Right.
You know, so
I'm wondering if they are going to do something with AI where every time a piece of music is generated, it's automatically sent to copyright, so that when you go and sample it, that you have to really do something, or it's going to get caught. It's going to get flagged. I wanted to do something to actually almost
Content idea.
Content idea, like instantly. As soon as it's made, in the background, it's sent off to be content ID. So you can't use it as is. Does it sound far-fetched? But, you know, they're going to try a lot of different things. So that's the thought that I was wondering.
It would make the most sense if we're being like totally honest with it in terms of because look how much music can be created with this. It can be tens of thousands of things being made in a heartbeat. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the best way would be the content idea and to make sure that it's not being used. So to make sure that it's being used differently than the way that it was being created, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm almost sure there's a way for them to know. I'm sure there's a fingerprint of some sort.
That's what I was trying to figure out. Is there some sort of digital fingerprint somewhere that we're unable to detect ourselves, unable to hear, that they could identify that this is an AI production, you know,
Right.
or AI components have been used in this production. So the jury's still out, you know, and we're just we're talking here, man, and just trying to wrap our heads around it. I know there's a lot of questions, and a lot of people who are not sure and uncertain, and we're all watching and waiting to see how these things are going to turn out and what kind of laws are going to be put in place. So, you know, we all have to pay attention because these things kind of get swept under the table and put in place behind in the background, and you don't know. You know, you don't know what happens until somebody gets hit with a lawsuit somewhere.
It's always like that. You know, you'll never really know, you know, but again, like the technology already exists. And I think what these guys are going to continue to do and what you're going to continue to see is you're going to continue to see them create a technology that's going to disrupt everything, but at the same time, create the mechanism to monetize it. That's the game.
Do you think that record labels are going in a direction where they will totally remove human artists?
Yes. I think that's the ultimate goal. I think the ultimate goal, and I know people are going to hate me for saying this, the ultimate goal with AI is to totally replace the creativity of people, right? And let's just put it in a let's put it in a let's put it in a totally systemic racist context, right? I know you can say why is it going here? If you could create black music without having to deal with black people, would you do it?
See.
Would the powers that be do it? Like that's really what you have to think about. Like if you could get all of the soul, the rhythm and everything from black music without having to deal with black people, would they do it? Absolutely. Why wouldn't they do it? That's what's really been the issue for the last 50 years. Is that, you know, now you guys can't complain about the exploitation anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Colonizing at its finest.
You see what I'm saying? and if you look at the movie industry, and let's look at that too, right? Because I know that's gonna sound crazy what I just said, but I'm just trying to keep it 100. Look at the movie industry. Look at the strike that took place the end of last year, right? And the whole strike and everything, because what was the whole uproar about? Was us being able to take your images, use them in films without paying the actual people that's actually based on, right? Right. Now you have models that are being built. That is basically you make your own sitcom. You know, you have a system now that you can go and say, hey, I want to have a movie about Spider-Man in Africa, but Spider-Man is African. You know what I'm saying? And he's fighting Black Panther. And you can basically create what you want to create, and then AI will generate that for you and generate your series for you. Like that's where it's going. It's like that's true movie on demand. Like it can be anything that you imagine. And you don't have to have an actor in it. You don't have to do this. You don't have to pay a production. You don't got to pay none of these people to do it. Like, so what? Like you think these guys? You think these guys don't want that? They don't want this. They don't want to have to deal with all these extra people and pay all these extra folks and pay people royalties. They don't want to do that.
Not to mention the volume and how quick you could turn it around. Like you can make it today and it'll be out by the end of the week.
And that's even real. That's the realness of it. Because if you look at social media has created the need for constant content.
Yep.
You know, and if we really want to be honest, and I know people are going to hate me for saying this too, if we want to be honest, the music business is dead.
Wow.
Right? The music business is dead. Right? What's now is the content creation business.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's what it is now.
Yeah, I think I've said that, but not so eloquently.
Yeah, the music business is dead in its traditional sense.
What I did say was that that record labels are no longer record labels.
Yeah,
they're content media based companies.
And look, and new artists have to pay attention to that, and they have to pay attention to the fact that you have to. Yeah, you can make music, but the reality of the situation is that if it's not coupled with content, if it's not coupled with digital products, if it's not coupled with physical products, right, merch, vinyl, stuff like that, if you're not part of an e-com situation. Because now it's an e-commerce situation. It's not just music business situation anymore. So we're talking about e-commerce, content creation. This is a different business.
Yeah.
This isn't the traditional music business anymore. This is different.
Not supposed to be the product. Music is not supposed to be the product. It's the delivery system.
There we go. So now we know. But a lot of us are still on the old gravy train. And we're hanging on to an antiquated system. That train has already left the station. You know, we're telling people this. We've been telling people this for upwards of 2 years. This has already left the station already. So the new artists that know better, they know that they're going to be making content with their music. They know that they're going to be selling merchandise, selling digital goods. They're going to be creating an e-commerce situation. They're going to be having mailing lists, email marketing on top of it, follow-ups. They're looking at conversions. If you guys don't have Shopify stores and things like that, you guys are really behind the 8 ball. If you guys are not using funnels and upsells, you guys are behind the 8 ball.
Chuck, where has this shit gone? It used to be so simple.
It still is. Because if you know this part of that business, it really is simple. It's almost like turning on a money printer if you know how to do it right. If you know how to do it right, because remember what happens is that now once you start running advertising in Facebooks and it starts targeting the people and you can retarget it, you can do all these type of things, right? You can always get your stuff in front of the right people. But people still are trying to just sell music, and music is not the only way to really get rich from the music business. And the ones that know, or the ones that knew early, Steve Stout, right? Yeah. The ones that jumped into the advertising and marketing side and the product placement side, the guys that knew, they knew. You know what I'm saying? So now everybody got to play catch up, but now you have to learn these other platforms. You have to learn the Shopify. You have to learn, Google ads and Facebook ads. You have to learn how to, incorporate your pixels, and you have to learn how to do all of that type of stuff, and retargeting, and you have to learn it. And if you're not familiar with it, it's like, we're talking a different language. What am I going to do with my email list? Your email list is actually money, and people don't really realize that. Because when I can go to a company and I can say, "Hey, Arkatech Beatz had an email list that's over 10,000, people that we could reach at any time. What are you willing to pay for that type of reach? People will pay for it."
Do you think that is one of the reasons why music has also been stagnant, that not enough people know how to get their music, not just get their music out, but to market it, promote it, to do these things online. Do you think, like, let's think about how it used to be back in the days versus now. Like, yeah, the entry is low to get in, but you still have to know a whole lot of technical things. You still got to know about, the internet, how to use it. You still got to know about email addresses, pixels. You got to know about ads, Facebook ads. You got to know all these login. There's a lot that you have to do. And if you're not versed in these things, if you don't have some sort of, I don't want to say common understanding or some sort of smarts to understand these things, like, how far are you going to go as an artist unless you have somebody on your team that you could trust to handle it? Before, you can just rap and the record label handles this and all you got to do is show up. But now you as an artist have so much to do. You can't just leave it to somebody else. You got to be involved in the actual content making. Before, you had art department that would just handle this stuff and take a picture of you and they'll put it in a computer and, Photoshop and do this, boom, your cover's done, or your billboard is done, or this is done. And you just got to look at it and check it off, approved. But now you have to be involved in the actual content creating. You got to be there and you got to push the button and you got to make sure it's right and do these takes and do these filters and send it. It's a lot, for the average person trying to be in the game.
It's like this, man. This is where we are. I got a 7 and a 9-year-old. They're using Canva. They're using Photoshop. They're using CapCut. Like, you say, what? What do you mean? This is where we are.
But I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this right here. We can't assume that everyone is in the same position that you're in. You're in a different.
I get it, but at the same time, like, as parents that are trying to, if you know what you already know, what the technology is, what it is. Like, you're supposed to be priming the next folks for that. And at the same time, you have a situation like this, like, new artists are coming in, like, you have to, if you have a cell phone, you're supposed to know half of this stuff already, truth be told, right? And then the other part of the music business that makes it very difficult is the social media platforms themselves, because the social media platforms themselves have sold a lot of people the lie that you can just post your music and it'll just go.
Yeah.
That shit is not real.
It's not real. Yeah.
That shit is not real. If you, number one, are not making provocative content, right? Now take that any way you want to take that word provocative. Mm-hmm. But if you're not making provocative content, the algorithm doesn't find it. If you don't have the complexion for the section,
mm-hmm.
the algorithm most likely will not find you. Also, the algorithm also will suppress certain messaging in your joints, right? So if your joint is overproduced and it looks too much like a commercial, it's not going nowhere.
But if
they want you to pay for that.
But if you mention Drake,
oh shit, yeah.
To the roof. Yeah. Go, Drake.
It's really fucking sad. It really is. It's fucking sad because when you look at this shit, it's like, so there's a lot of bullshit that goes along with this thing, and if you they tell you hashtags don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
They tell you this, but the question was, did it ever matter? You see what I'm saying? So everybody's kind of running,
chasing the tail.
Yeah, they're chasing their tail. You know what I'm saying? This social media shit and the shit that I start to realize with this shit is that it pushes out whatever the fuck it wants to push out. You don't know what it's going to take. You don't know what it's going to take. If people like the way that you talk, sometimes that might help. If people like the way that you look, man, that definitely is going to help. You know, but that's why you see people getting on here and they doing and saying the most outlandish shit, because that's the only way to keep a person, you know,
engaged,
mildly, entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what we're dealing with. So, you know, that's what makes the music industry hard, and that's why you see in that situation where you said a lot of executives were talking about they can't break artists. They don't know what it takes to break artists. Is because no one can figure out the fucking algorithm.
This algorithms fuck shit up, man.
Yeah, and they have made it in such a way where it's not made to break music, man. Like they have created this shit where you've become numb to it. If you remember the first early days in the internet, and I know we dating ourselves, but you remember the first time in the internet when people start putting ads on your joint and you couldn't tell if this was an ad or if it was a regular link, and you know what I'm saying? And you know, you was clicking on shit, you're like, damn, I clicked on the ad, damn, fuck, you know?
Yeah.
And then now you know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
You know? And when a person's music come up in your feed, that shit to you in your mind is like a fucking ad. You're like, nah, you're skipping it.
Yeah,
right. And the only time that you may stop and listen to a song is if it come up in your feed and you see it got a lot of likes, a lot of this, a lot of that. You know what I mean? If you don't already have a lot of things already built into it, you probably won't even take the chance to listen to the shit. So that's a whole nother battle that you got to deal with. So in order for you to get the number of engagements and likes and everything, you have to initially take a piece of content and run ads on it.
But even in that scenario, you don't even know how truthful that is, because now you're relying on the establishment to do something that you can't audit,
verify, or nothing. You can't validate it or verify it.
Right. Like, how do you know?
You don't.
You know, they got bots too. They got farms and everything. You know, so here you go paying social media to do boosts and to run ads, and they're like, yeah, 5,000 people here. This is 5,000 people saw your ad, but those 5,000 people are really 5,000 bots around the world. How do you verify it? How do you tell the establishment that their shit is fake? You can't. Shit is a crazy game where you just chasing your tail, running around in loops. It's ridiculous. Good luck.
It's a wicked world, man. That right now.
The Wizard of Oz.
You got to get in where you fit in, man. And a lot of it's going to be, look, you got to try to see how you can get the best looking content. You got to see how you can get on here and you can say something that's really relevant. You have to really practice your communication skills.
Yes.
Like, that's a big part of it. Like, people have to like the way that you talk.
Yeah.
People have to like the way that you talk. And that's been a big challenge for a lot of us. A lot of us don't have that training in terms of being able to talk succinctly, get an idea out. You know how it is. You know what I'm saying? You know how it is. Everybody battles with this shit.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? This is not, everybody don't like this camera shit.
Hell yeah. Tell me about it.
Okay, like everybody don't like this shit. But this is where we are. This is where we are, because we're reaching out to producers and people, and we're telling people, hey, come on, people need to see it, hear your story, boom, boom, boom. And the amount of guys that are like, nah, fuck that. The amount of people that don't want to even be on the camera.
Or how about this? Some of them don't know how to properly use their email.
That shit wild. That shit is wild, but it's real.
Yeah. Like, my notification, this how that worked?
It was wild, but you know, and you know the joke behind that, and sometimes in my mind, I would say, damn, you know, we're supposed to be the most technically savvy because listen, we using drum machines and samplers and all this shit from Nobody using this shit. We using this shit. We chopping shit up. We counting the semitones. We doing all type of weird type of shit. So we doing technical shit. But then when it comes to computers, niggas don't want to know how to use computers. It's weird. This shit is weird to me. Like, you guys can use that hardware all day, but when it's time for you to get on a laptop, you can't do it. I'm like, that shit is weird to me. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's levels to it, I guess, you know, when you think about the situation, you know, and when you see the New York governor talking about kids in the Bronx don't know what a laptop is,
right.
you gotta wonder, like, damn, is that real?
Yeah, I was thinking
like,
about
why
that
would she say some shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
But when we're sending out communication to people and we're seeing the way that they're engaging, we're like, damn, do you know how to use this shit?
And then you realize when you pull back and you see their whole world and you see their social media, you're like, okay, that's why they're not engaging, or that's why their numbers are not moving. It's because, you know, they're not really hip to how to do this thing. And that's what I was saying before, that, you know, some of these guys don't know how to use this stuff. And it's sad because, you know, a lot of these guys are still creative. A lot of these guys
y'all gonna be fucked on this AI shit.
Yeah.
The AI shit going, y'all finish, because the AI shit is the next frontier. Like, if you're not in this shit, if you're not understanding this prompt engineering, if you're not understanding how to use Midjourney, if you're not understanding Runway, if you're not understanding Chat GPT, if you're not understanding this shit, it's a wrap, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you're not using, you know, Udio and all them other places, them other shits, like, if you're not using this shit, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, you're really putting yourself at a severe disadvantage. And
you won't be around next year.
Listen, and if you have children, you're supposed to be getting them into this shit so that they can see what they can generate with their own ideas. Because that's what AI is supposed to help to do. It's supposed to be an extension of your ideas and help you to build your ideas quicker, faster, you know? But people don't really seem that they're just afraid of that shit. Oh, I can't fuck with it. Like, yo, y'all tripping, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, I'm hoping that people are using it. I hope people are paying attention to it. Like, this is the real shit. Ageism in hip hop, we talked about that today. Mike feels like, hey, gotta have both people, gotta have their own spaces. I feel like there's a way to blend the gap, and we got to do more to reach back, and kids got to do more to reach forward, because I think that it's all connected. You know, like, just look at fashion. Like, everything is all connected. Y'all are still wearing old Jordans. Y'all are still wearing Air Force Ones. Y'all are still, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's totally disconnected. Y'all still wear old shit. Y'all still wear old shit when y'all want to. It's up to us to kind of introduce you to the old shit so that you can say that shit fly. Like, you know, why would a guy be wearing, you know, first generation Jordans and type shit? Like, why would you wear that? Like, you would wear that because we introduced you to it and you told you this is the fly sneaker, and that's why y'all wear that shit, and that's why y'all pay all kind of money for that shit. So why does that apply to that, but it doesn't apply to music? Like, nah, man. And it only applies to our genre too. I mean, let me just put it there too. It's only a hip hop thing, a black thing, where they have us in this situation where we got to keep saying, oh, we got to upgrade to the new shit. Keep spending your money. They're smart. They smart about that capitalism and making you spend all your fucking money. Like, they know what it is, you know. So, got to get off that hamster fucking wheel, man. Like, that's really what's going on with these people right now. But at the same time, any parting words? What was the Sexy Red numbers?
I
didn't get a chance to look at that.
Was it 20 something thousand? 26,000? What was it?
Sexy Red first week sales. It's at 28,000.
28,000.
Wait a minute.
You know what you're gonna hear in the comments?
What's that?
Where was the Drake stimulus package?
An artist like that, listen, I want people to understand something. An artist like that to do the numbers that she's doing, that is the stimulus package.
Ouch.
Like, let's keep it 100. Like, let's keep it 100. Like, you know, I know her name is Sexy Red, but let's keep it 100. This is not a Nicki Minaj type look. This is not a Cardi B type look.
Yeah, you mean?
This is not even a Megan Thee Stallion type look. Okay, this is new ground. She has her own.
I see you being very careful.
No, because I like what she does.
Mm-hmm.
I do. You know what I'm saying? I like what she does. At first, I was like, yo, my kid can't listen to it, but it's not for my kid, right? It's not for that, and you know. But when I start to really dig into her music, start to look at some of those lives, start to look at her personality, I'm like, I see why people fuck with it.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? And I think enough of us don't do that. You know, we just kind of just write it off and just say, hey, she got Pound Town and shit ain't, you know what I mean? But when I started to kind of look into the interviews, listen to some of their songs, listen to some of their stuff, it may not be for me, but at the same time, I can understand why somebody would look at her and say, you know what, we're going to put something behind her because there is something there in terms of her being an artist. You know, or personality rather. You know what I'm saying? Because I think it extends past music. I think music is the gateway.
Right.
But if you put somebody like her on a reality show, it's gone.
Right.
You know what I mean? So personality wise, that's the Cardi B thing too. You know what I'm saying? It's finding the personality, you know, with Cardi B, but Cardi B just happens to make better music. You know what I'm saying? And whereas Ice Spice might make better music, but I think the personality is kind of bland. Does that, you know what I'm saying? So
that's what it feels like.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's kind of no personality. It's just kind of a pretty face. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So the stimulus package, hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? That is a stimulus package. And if she gets if she has a top 20 record, I'm sure she's going to have a top 10 Billboard single with the BBL jersey on the shit. That's a stimulus package. You know, I just don't think that the streaming represents the total true units. I think, Mike, if I want to go on record on saying that the mechanism for streaming in units is flawed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's done intentionally to keep your mind off of the revenue stream. Like I think that, you know, they intentionally did it this way so that they can kind of manipulate the shit in the background. There's no way that you can have somebody as popular as her and then tell us, hey, oh, she only got 28,000 units, but has hundreds of millions of streams. Shit ain't adding up.
Well, math ain't mathing.
The math ain't mathing, but you know, we'll see. We'll wait and see where it goes. But for everybody, make sure y'all following us, Arkatech Beatz. Everything Arkatech Beatz.
Okay.
You know, make sure that you keep keeping up with us for new situations. And listen, man, there's AI coming, man. Make sure people are paying attention to that. You know, but until next time, people, make sure y'all stay safe out there. Peace.
Peace.